All right, we are live. Welcome back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Coach Ralph. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Salim, in the aftermath of the big game.
Yeah. That was interesting game for sure. Before we jump into that, Coach, let's rewind a little bit to Leipzig on I think it was Wednesday.
hmm
1-0 victory. Darwin Núñez gets a goal, and Gakpo gets a start. Tsimikas gets a start, and we knew Darwin was going to start because of the Jota injury. What did you think of the lineup and overall the game? For me, it was kind of interesting. At the end, when it was over, I thought it was, wow, that was kind of an easy 1-0 victory. But during the game, I was anxious. You're always anxious when it's 1-0, and the other team did have a couple chances, but nothing too crazy.
Right. So, yeah. I think one thing that we're seeing with the Arne Slot games right now is obviously he's learning a lot of different things about the players and the team and all of that, the Premier League, and then going to play Champions League games. But I think he's really trying to control the pace of games if he can. And I think the Leipzig game really was a classic example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Liverpool had a lot of possession. They played at the pace that they wanted to play. Leipzig came out quickly, which is what you would expect. But eventually, Liverpool started to get on top in terms of possession.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, that enabled them to control the pace of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. It, I've never seen, well, I've seen Leipzig play, but it was the first time in quite a while. And I generally don't have time to watch, all the leagues in Europe. I mean, there's like Julian Lorenz, like, I don't know how he watches everything, sees everything, knows about every league, every player. I mean, the
He gets
guy's on the.
paid. He gets paid to do it.
That's true. That's true.
So,
That's
so
true.
I think that's his motivating factor,
That's
besides
true.
his interest, I'm sure.
That's true. And he does talk about it very well, too.
Yeah.
So just kind of some details within the game. It was 57.5% possession for Liverpool, 17 shots, 8 on target for Liverpool, and then Red Bull had 13 shots, 8 on target.
Mhm.
It kind of tells a story in a nutshell. There's more details within a game, but that kind of said it when you talk about him controlling Arne Slot wanting to control the pace. With that 57.5% possession, it's they really kind of controlled the game. That's why I kind of said it was an easy 1-0 when it was over. Coach, the anything else kind of talk to you about the game? Anything that stood out about the game? Because I think we want to get to the juicy one against Arsenal.
Well, whilst Liverpool may have controlled the game, I mean, every game that you play and the opposition is going to create chances. And I think late on, Kelleher was called into action twice
Mm-hmm.
and made big saves. So whilst we miss Allison in goal, Kelleher shows that he's a pretty capable deputy, and he was there when he was called upon. So I think that's a positive for the team and for the manager. Um, and they're going to need Kelleher, obviously, because I don't think Allison's back for another month at least.
Yeah. Coach, we kind of thought that Red Bull would be a lot more desperate, having 2 losses in the Champions League. And I don't know, it didn't feel like very desperate from them. I think the last 10, 15 minutes they kind of came on. But other than that, it wasn't, I don't know, I just expected a more of a desperate type of uh, um, game plan and
Right.
more desire for the players to really get after it.
Right. So, I mean, it was a quick start, and then at the end of the game, when they're chasing it, and I mean, it's only a one-goal game, so that's when they caused Liverpool the most issues and the most problems. But I think overall, especially when Liverpool went a goal up, it's kind of like they got their fingers burned a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because arguably up until that point they had shown a little bit more. but then Liverpool counter, they score, and in fact, I think they had a great chance right after they scored. So
Yeah.
it was always going to be, do we attack with abandon against Liverpool, who this year look very solid at the back, versus do we leave ourselves exposed at the back when you've got serious pace, in terms of anyone that Liverpool puts up front. Liverpool are very good at countering, and so it kind of puts them in a situation where they have to think: do we go for it, or do we try to play it out? And I think at the end of the game, I think at that point, from their point of view, they've got nothing to lose at that point, so they may as well go for it.
Yeah. The chance you're talking about is Darwin Nunez's header that got saved. It was, I mean, that was a bullet header. I mean, from very close range. Great job by the goalkeeper to keep it out. The goal was interesting. Tsimikas crossed it and Salah headed it, and it looked like it was possibly going in. But I like that Darwin kind of was there on the back post just to make sure it was tucked away. It was maybe hitting the post, maybe going in. But as a striker, you want kind of in that spot and putting them away.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that's happened was he tucked it in, and then he looks across to see the linesman.
Yeah.
And of course, if he's offside, then he'll be getting, he'll be getting a lot of criticism. But I think that you want to make sure, because who knows whether or not it was going in. It was close. It was close, but it wasn't. It wasn't 100%.
Yeah. The game, as soon as it was over, I mean, this game could have been a trap game for Liverpool because that Arsenal fixture was juicy and it meant a lot. And let's move on to that one because I think we have a lot to talk about there. Saka starts out of nowhere, but
well, I don't think that was really such a shock. I mean, because in all my years following the game, it's very common to say, "Oh well, player X is doubtful, so is player Y," and of course, then they show up on the day. So I think that's all part of the pre-match game.
little
So
head games.
I don't think it was a shock that Saka and Timber were starting. They've had periods out, but I think they were always going to be ready for this game because they didn't play midweek in
Arsenal's
Champions League game. So there was a priority here by the manager.
Yeah,
and they were safe for the game, basically.
Yeah, Saka said that when he got injured against Greece, that it wasn't a bad injury, but he was targeting this game. So nice to know after the fact. But I mean, he looked great right off the bat, huh? I mean,
he's a top player. He's a top player. So yeah, and he showed that in emphatic style in the first 10 minutes.
What? It looked like Robertson could not handle him. And Saka is a very good player. I'm not expecting, most defenders in the world are going to have a hard time handling him. But Saka really, really had Robertson kind of chasing shadows, it seemed like.
Well, he's tough. He's tough one-on-one. And then it seemed as though Arsenal had decided before the game. I think in recent years that the narrative has been get at Liverpool down the right side because Trent likes to get forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this particular game that they went to the other side of the field because it wasn't just a one-on-one, but they seemed to be overloading over on that side with Havertz coming over to support.
Mm-hmm.
And so instantly that'll cause a dilemma for any player, any fullback. I mean, what do they do when it's 2 versus 1? Because Liverpool was struggling at that point really to match up.
Yeah. The goal was nice too. I mean, ball over the top, great cutback, and I mean, he
walloped it home.
Yeah, he clobbered it.
Yeah, I mean, he was close. I saw one thing that that they felt that the goalkeeper could have done more, but it all happened so quickly, and a shot at that pace, I mean, it'll be by you in an instant. So I wouldn't attribute anything to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think you just got to tip your hat to Saka on that one.
Oh yeah, it was a good goal, and And from Arsenal's point of view, it was the start that they wanted, because then, I mean, Arsenal going down to the Emirates has changed in the last couple of years. It used to be pretty toxic, and I think it's kind of turned around under Arteta. So the crowd was up for it, and then they score, and then it becomes a very difficult proposition for any team.
Mm-hmm. What was that? The 18th minute. So 9 minutes later, after Saka scores, great cross on a corner kick. Great cross from Trent. Fantastic flick from Diaz, and Virgil just kind of sticks his head in there, and 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, in this era of they have coaches now for the set plays, and I think Arsenal showed that quite clearly. It was a pretty traditional corner kick in terms of run to the near post, knocked on, and then when it's in the middle of the box, anything can happen. Maybe it's cleared, or maybe it's not. Maybe it goes in off a defender, or as in this case, it's an easy head in for Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, when I played for you back, many ages ago, that was a corner kick that we practiced a lot.
The in-swinging corner, yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough for any team, but I think in the modern game, like, they know how to handle it better, and maybe they're expecting something else, because, as I say, now it's become more complex, in as much as it's not Arteta and it's not Slot who are coaching the restarts. I'm sure they have input, but they have specialist coaches that deal with that. So, like, they're coming up with all different kinds of things, as we saw for Arsenal's second goal.
Yeah. The Mikel Merino was not. I remember him in the European Championships, and he's been injured. He's a nice player. I thought he played pretty well, and overall, it was interesting that their defense kind of wore out a little bit, or like Julian Timbers went down, Gabriel went down, and it'd be replaced. And at this point, it was after Merino's goal in the 43rd, which was razor tight. I mean, as far as offsides, but I think it was the right call, and they definitely looked like they were just going to sit back, and Liverpool really kind of took control of the game. I would say probably, I don't know, 65th minute on, it was kind of all Liverpool trying to get that tying goal.
Yeah, I think the mentality of Arsenal changed in the second half. I mean, I thought they were clearly the better team on the day in the first half. I thought they played extremely well, actually.
Absolutely, yeah.
And especially given that they were without Odegaard, who is very much the player that makes them tick.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saliba is a big miss as well. Saliba's a big miss for them. But having said that, they do have a good squad. They do have a good squad of players. And I think one thing that Mikel Arteta has done to the team and the club is he's instilled a much harder mentality in them. So by the end of the game, even though the back four was all essentially backups, I mean, they were very organized and not necessarily an easy group to break down. And it's kind of ironic. I mean, even though Liverpool, you could say, had the bulk of the possession in the second half, I think it was control to a degree that Arsenal allowed them to have control. It was a little bit like Liverpool's game against Chelsea. Chelsea had a lot of possession. Liverpool allowed them that possession, and so they weren't really controlling the game. They were controlling the ball, but they weren't controlling the game. And that's how I felt the second half was going. And it was kind of ironic in my eyes that I didn't think that Liverpool were going to score, to be honest with you, because they weren't creating a lot. And the goal that they did get back was kind of out of the Jurgen Klopp playbook.
Mm-hmm.
In as much as Liverpool are defending, they get possession. Trent, who I didn't think have a great game overall, but he can play the big pass, and he did that. Great pass down the line, great run by Nunez, who's mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and then picks out Salah, who again I didn't think had a great game, and it was a great finish. It was a great finish. So I think the biggest thing that the game shows overall is while Liverpool didn't play particularly well, they went to a rival team who admittedly were missing one or two players, but were playing very, very strong. It was at their patch. The crowd was behind them.
Yeah.
Liverpool didn't buckle in the sense that, particularly in that first half where Arsenal were holding sway, as it were. Liverpool didn't cave. Liverpool,
yeah.
So Liverpool are tough to beat as well. And even though they weren't creating a lot, they could still pull something out of the bag because they have quality players and they can do it in the big moment.
Yeah, the goal was really nice. Because Salah easily could have gotten on that ball, and the fact that he just sprinted right to the box, and I was nervous. I was like, "Oh, Darwin, please find him. He's wide open. Please find him." And he played a great pass. And yeah, it's funny with Salah because we'll get into the fantasy stuff later. But man, it's just like he just keeps producing. He keeps scoring, he keeps assisting, he keeps making big plays, and it just, when the moment comes, he's ready.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the constant pressure and like skill set that we're used to with him, especially his speed. I mean, every game he would have chances and be very heavily involved, and now it's just like he's kind of involved, maybe not, and then all of a sudden he pops up and he scores. Last week against Chelsea, the cross to Curtis Jones, I mean, out of nowhere, and it was a beautiful cross. I mean, the guy just knows what he's doing, and when the moment comes, he's ready. Coach, there's got to be something to said about that kind of professional attitude.
Well, of course. I mean, as I say, like these players have shown over the years that they can produce in the big moments, and it's very easy to say that, and it sounds simple, but the fact is that they do it time and again.
Yeah,
and if you look at the last few years, Liverpool have certainly won their share of trophies, pretty much at a time when one club dominates.
mm-hmm.
But under Klopp, Liverpool won it all basically, and so players like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah, when the time has arrived, they have been there to produce.
Yeah, they're comfortable in that moment.
Oh yes, yeah. I think there's no question, and I think that they want it as well. I think that that's a key part of it. And it's maybe a reason why maybe Trent will move on at the end of the season, because he's putting out there some pretty big statements and goals for what he wants in the future.
Yeah, the Ballon d'Or comment.
Oh yes,
yeah. For those that missed it, Trent's saying that he wants to be the first fullback to win the Ballon d'Or, and scary proposition about him staying here. But Coach, speaking of defenders, I mean, Konate was a beast, and Martinelli was completely shut down by Konate time and time again. I mean, at one point, I think Martinelli just kind of was like, okay, I can't get by this guy. Like, he bodied him, he matched him for pace, he got in the way of crosses, passes. I mean, Konate was unbelievable.
Yeah. He would probably be my choice for man of the match from a Liverpool perspective.
Absolutely.
So yeah. I mean, he was very up and down last season. And then, of course, he didn't begin the first game. And as we know, it didn't take long for the manager to make that swap between him and Kwanzaa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think since then, he's kind of gone from strength to strength. Clearly, he's playing beside one of the top defenders, certainly in the Premier League era of all time.
Yeah.
I think that that's a very reasonable comment to make.
Mm-hmm.
And Virgil van Dijk's playing well as well. So those two together in tandem are working extremely well, and arguably are reaching the levels of the first choice Arsenal duo. So they're up there, and I think Konate has been given the brief of saying, right, we have Trent Alexander-Arnold. He likes to get forward. Sometimes he likes to push into midfield. Your job, your mission, as it were, is to cover for him.
Yeah.
So I think they embrace that fully against Arsenal. And you're right, Martinelli didn't produce anywhere near as much as he's capable of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and Konate was the sole reason. I just kept watching Martinelli because Martinelli's a very dangerous player and a crafty player. And I mean, one time it was a shoulder charge, and Martinelli went flying, and just kind of knew he couldn't do that. And then for pace, I mean, Konate made up. I don't know, maybe a couple yard head start for Martinelli. Made it up in no time. So speed was there, and then he was blocking everything. I mean, it's so nice to see that, a guy that we brought in is playing so well. And behind the scenes, he seems to be a interesting character. Everybody loves him. He's kind of goofy. He has a good time. So I like kind of his presence in the clubhouse too, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, obviously, I think one thing that Slot has decided to do, I think, particularly when he viewed the tapes of last season's games, is to give a more solid base for the team to play off. And whilst we miss I know that people often talk about the chaos of Jurgen Klopp.
The heavy metal, yeah.
Yeah, I know that I miss it actually. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. But
yeah, we talk about it weekly. It's like,
but I think it's kind of a throwback to the Benitez area where he's building his team on a very solid base. He's building it from the back, but I think at the same time he recognizes that this isn't a squad. I mean, when Rafa Benitez came in, basically he had to really do a major rebuild over several years, and he built it from the back. I think that Slot is in a situation where he's building the team, he's building it from the back, but he already has a lot of good players. And so I'm sure that as we speak, he's talking to the recruitment in terms of the kind of players he wants to advance the club and his team. But he's also got quality on hand. And so how does he best employ them? I don't think he's at this point yet where he can rotate comfortably, because I don't think he has the relationship with all the players on the team right now. I don't think he has the trust of all the players, and I think that's one of the factors. I mean, he really hasn't rotated that much. I think the only game was the League Cup game against West Ham, and I think he'll rotate Major League, as it were, for tomorrow's game, or Wednesday's League Cup game against Brighton.
Yeah,
I think he'll make at least 10 changes, and he might even give Yaros a running goal. So I think if he does that, it could be a full 11 changes that he makes.
It'll be interesting to see for sure, Coach. With when at the start of the season, with the Salah, Virgil, and Trent contracts not being resolved yet. We were talking that Trent's probably the one to keep because of his age, and his range of passing. I mean, he's got a lot of skill, but as the season kind of goes on, has your mind shifted at all about that? Because mine has.
Well, go on. What did you
Yeah.
say?
So I think maybe Virgil might be the most important person that we keep out of the three now, because he's still playing at a high level. It's not, I think the way he plays, there's not a lot of exertion that he like every game. Sure, he runs, he gets back, he does everything he needs to, but it's not like like a Robertson or a Diaz where it's constant running up and down. He's very controlled, very not stressed at all. There's a comfort he brings to the back line. And I think maybe Virgil might be the one as of now, that might be the one that we want to make sure we tie him up first.
I would agree with that. I would prioritize Van Dijk, because he brings something that you can't buy, which is leadership.
Yeah.
And Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah are both top and very talented players. I don't know if I would call them leaders. I know that Trent has expressed the hope that one day he could be captain of Liverpool, but maybe he would be a good captain. I don't know. I mean, I didn't think Jordan Henderson would be a good captain, but he turned out to be very, very good.
Very good, yeah.
So, but it's not obvious. I think that with Van Dijk, he's an obvious and he's a natural captain and leader. He just has a presence. He just has the presence of a, like you go back in my lifetime to the 60s to a Bobby Moore, for example. I mean, there was just something that he exuded that said captain and leader. And I think Van Dijk has that attribute as well. And as I say, it's something that you can't buy. I mean, I look 30 miles down the East Lancs Road to Manchester, and Bruno Fernandes is captain of Manchester United. And I think Fernandes is a very talented player. Is he a captain? I don't think so. And he just doesn't have natural leadership.
Speaking of United, Ten Hag was fired.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was going to happen sooner or later, and I guess it's sooner.
Yeah, and Van Nistelrooy will take over the coaching duties as they search for another coach.
Yeah.
Interesting news. I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised.
Yeah.
They probably wanted him gone over the summer, but couldn't find a replacement. So, well, anyway, Coach, if I told you last week, hey, we're going to win against Leipzig and tie against Arsenal, you probably would have said, yeah, we'll take it.
Right. I mean, because I think that was a very foreseeable set of results. So yeah, I mean, it's, I know there's I think in the social media era, we kind of get access to the feelings of other fans, and I think the fact that it's there leads to other fans kind of getting extreme sometimes in their opinions. So I know there's a lot of fans that are kind of disappointed that Liverpool didn't win, or maybe weren't more convincing in their performance yesterday. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Liverpool's been on a good run. Arsenal had some injuries. And so, even things like the fact that by the end of the game, basically Arsenal's backup line was all that. They were all backups.
Yeah.
So there's some expressing disappointment, but I think the reality is that they're a good squad, they're a well-coached team, and it's at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And it's away. Away. And so that's always going to be a little bit harder. And I mean, looking at it overall, I mean, I was at my own games yesterday, and as I'm driving home, I'm listening to 606, and we've got an Arsenal fan on wanting Arteta out because he's a loser. So, so, so I think that kind of says all you need to know about our modern era, where fans really have access to voicing their opinions. And I think back in my era, it was just a local pub. So I guess you could get really. I guess you could say things that were over the top, but it would just stay amongst you and your friends, and they think that you're nuts. But now you can give it to the whole wide world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's some Liverpool fans too that
Oh yes,
that like that too.
yeah. Every club has them.
Yeah.
You know, it's life.
The result puts us, keeps us in second place. One thing I kind of was thinking, and I don't know, tell me what you think about this. Did the Liverpool game with Gabriel going out, Timber going out, now granted Saliba will be back next game, did Liverpool hand Newcastle a favor and say, hey, we got two of these guys out for you, your turn?
Is that who they play next? Newcastle,
yeah.
is it?
Mm-hmm.
What was it at?
I think it's at Newcastle.
Yeah.
I'll double check though.
Yeah. So I'm not sure about that. I mean, I know they've got a tough run of games as well coming up.
Yeah, it's at Newcastle.
It's like Newcastle right now. I only saw the highlights of their game this weekend, and actually the weekend before, I watched the first 20 minutes. I watched the first 20 minutes of the game against Brighton before, and I shouldn't say this before I switched to watch the Everton game, which was kicking off late. And when I heard the result at the end of the game, I couldn't believe it because Newcastle were killing Brighton. So there's something missing at Newcastle. I don't know that Liverpool has set them up set up Arsenal for the game, as you put it. I mean, Arsenal are resilient, and they showed that against Liverpool. And in terms of players are missing, and as I said earlier, like they're missing Odegaard, but they do have a lot of good midfield players to choose from.
Yeah.
So I think that they're resilient, and I think that they will adapt. Newcastle are at a point where some are expressing disappointment of where they're at, and it seems like the manager isn't totally comfortable and happy with things right now. So I think there's an onus on Newcastle to win against Arsenal. And it seems like Gabriel will be out. Timber, the impression I got with Timber was he's been out and he was tired.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he was tired. So I would expect three of the regular back four to be playing. And as I say, I think the onus is on Newcastle to go win the game. The pressure's on them. But if they really press up, of course, you've got Martinelli, you've got Saka, you've got a lot of players that can counter against them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their last 5 games. It looks like Arsenal have won 2, Newcastle have won 2, and a tie. So pretty evenly matched. The coach, moving on to Brighton. We mentioned the League Cup. I agree with you. I think it'll be a wholesale change. But then the important game on Saturday, again, versus Brighton. So Cody Gakpo started midweek, and then Luis Diaz came in, and Cody Gakpo is getting a run of games here. Curtis Jones is getting a run of games here over Szoboszlai. Do you think he keeps kind of the same thing where Curtis Jones is in for Szoboszlai, or do you think he goes back to Szoboszlai? And then as far as the left, do we go to Tsimikas and then bring in Robertson late, or does he go the other way? And then obviously up front, on the left side? Is it Diaz or is it Gakpo?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty clear who was top. What is it? About 15 players are. I think it's so. I mean, he's got one major injury in that respect right now. So Kelleher is in at the back, and I think he's decided to rotate Robertson and Tsimikas to some degree. I think Robertson's the first choice, but he's getting on. He had some serious injuries last year, so I think he's trying to manage time for Robertson. That's how I see it. And he did a little bit early in the season with Trent. I mean, but Bradley's injured right now. I don't think it's a serious injury, but I don't think he's part of the rotation. Will he play against Brighton on Wednesday? I don't know. I don't know about that. It'll be interesting to see who plays at right back, actually.
Right.
So in the midfield, he only seems to be playing four players. I mean, Elliott is still out. I don't think he's ready to return yet. I think he's getting close. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a couple of academy players tomorrow. And I think if that's the situation, then I think we could see Trainioni tomorrow. But I would be very shocked if he was to play him in a Premier League game at this point. So at this time, he's only really got four players in the midfield area. And up top, he's got the five players. He's got the five players to pick from. One is injured right now. And then Chiesa is injured, which makes me wonder, is he another Thiago?
Oh, I hope not. Yeah.
i.e. top player that they got cheap, but injury prone, talented, and you might see flashes here and there, but injury prone.
Yeah, the Brighton game's going to be difficult. Brighton's playing well. They're dangerous. They're very capable of winning this game. Coach, is there a scoreline you see for this one? And not the League Cup. Let's just the
well the League Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool lose that game because I think he'll play his backups. It'll be interesting to see what Brighton do. Because I know that this isn't always the thinking. I mean, if I was manager of Brighton, I'd think, oh, this is a chance for me to get a trophy.
Yeah.
Because I think psychologically for a club, if they get silverware, that's a big thing. And, especially in the Manchester City era. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he'll make changes, but will he make as many changes as Liverpool? We'll have to wait and see on that. Liverpool have had difficult games with Brighton in recent years. They've had a succession of different managers and what have you. And is it Hurlitsinger? Is that how it's pronounced? I'm not sure. But he's got off to a good start and he plays quite a constructive style. I think the one thing that I'm finding hard with Liverpool right now is we always kind of knew what to expect when Jurgen was in charge.
Yeah.
And I think Arne Slot has already shown that there's a variety of approaches, that he will adopt. And so it's harder to predict. I mean, I wondered whether the game against Arsenal would be boring because, A, Arsenal were missing a lot of players, and B, Liverpool would never have approached the Chelsea game under Jurgen Klopp in the way that Arne Slot did, where I think he consciously decided, right, they can have possession and will allow it in certain areas. So for me, that makes it harder to kind of predict what the game will be like. Probably more of a chess game rather than a year ago. It was right. Liverpool will be right at them.
Right.
And then we see how Brighton kind of adapts, or if they adapt to the way that Liverpool play. So I think who do Liverpool play after Brighton? Is it another Champions League?
After Brighton, we're in November. We're in November. We have Leverkusen.
And that's at Anfield, isn't it?
That's at Anfield, and then the
Uh,
weekend at Villa.
And so I mean, like
Oh,
these
sorry, not at Villa. We're playing Villa, but that one's at home as well at Anfield.
so these are big games.
3 home games in a row. Yeah.
So where are we? I'm just looking at the calendar myself here. So is the Liverpool games on Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, against Leverkusen.
Oh gosh, it's on election night.
Yeah.
It's on election night. Plus in England, it's what they call Guy Fawkes night. So it's a big deal. So, it's going to be a memorable November 5th this year, one way and another. Hopefully for the right reasons,
right.
not just on the playing field. But anyway, so yeah, I think the 14, 15 players that we just talked about, they will be sharing time for these 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Brighton, Leverkusen, and then Villa. They will share time, and unless injuries come into play or maybe Jota comes back, I don't expect anybody else to play other than those. So
yeah, we mentioned Harvey Elliott, and Coach, what are your thoughts? Let's say he was healthy. Do you think he gets into that Szoboszlai Jones role? Because I think he might be the best fit offensively in that role.
well, what Elliot does is, he's a little guy. He's buzzing around. He brings a lot of energy. Technically, he's excellent. Really good touch on the ball. And we saw last year he was very effective when he came into games, and especially the way that Liverpool was subbing last year, where they would. It was a definite tactic that maybe on the hour that they would bring in 3 substitutes. And we saw it time and again that Elliott would come in and would affect the game just by his enthusiasm, his work rate, and the different skill set that he brought to the team. I mean, he's very technical, very, very technical, intelligent player.
Well, hopefully he'll be back sooner than later. Coach, we're in the middle of this big run of games. So we beat Chelsea, we beat Leipzig, we tied against Arsenal. Good start.
It's
good start. I mean, it's 10, 12 games here until Christmas, where it's going to determine a lot, and it's going to show us a lot about the team and the coach.
Right. I think your assessment is very, very fair. but what'll happen next? I don't know. know. It's going to be interesting. As I say, I have a feeling that they aren't prioritizing the League Cup, so I wouldn't be shocked if Liverpool lose at Brighton. But it'll be an interesting setup for the weekend for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a game, obviously, that Liverpool can win. But you got to credit Brighton. They've done very well so far.
Yeah, I think they're in 6th. They're right.
They are in 6th. Yeah. So
Arsenal and Chelsea. Yeah.
So I mean, like they are right on the periphery of the Champions League places, and as we say, they're playing well. Although I think it was interesting at the weekend. Again, I mean, I only saw highlights, but they seem to be cruising against Wolves. And then Wolves came back to burn them in the last few minutes, and so I'm sure they'll have a different mentality playing against Liverpool at Anfield than they did playing at home against Wolves and 2 goals to the good. But yeah, it's an intriguing game. It's an intriguing game, and hopefully it's a red win.
Maybe I'm interested in seeing if Arne has a more aggressive approach in this game versus what he did against Chelsea. And
Yeah,
I'd assume I think that makes more sense against a team like Brighton, but I'm not sure.
maybe, but the sense I get from him right now is he's not wanting the high intensity football. And I think the reason has to do with the learning curve that he's on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look going into the Arsenal game, they had to travel to Germany to play a big
Mm-hmm.
game. Arsenal had played the day before. And actually, it was a situation that Arsenal was in when they went to Manchester City because the Champions League games gave an advantage to City, in as much as City had a game, more time to recover. Their game was at home. Arsenal had to travel.
Right.
So I think he's learning all these different things. The international break, we've talked about this before. I think he had a big shock after the Nottingham Forest game, and I think that if he was to play that again, he would have rested his South American players.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that he picked up from that. And I think he's just learning how to pace the players he has now. They have been used to very high octane football. And, some say that that's why injuries were picked up, and that could well be the case. He doesn't know, as I said earlier, all of the players on the squad. He doesn't trust all the players on the squad to the same degree yet.
Yeah.
Whereas with Jurgen Klopp last season, Liverpool got deep into an injury run, and Klopp's throwing in academy kids.
Yeah.
But he knows who all the players are. They know what the style of play is, and I just feel that Arne Slot's not in that position right yet. So
it'll take time.
Yeah, it'll take time, and so that's why I feel that other than the League Cup game, I don't think we'll see much rotation. I think that the tactics will be relatively low key, because he's trying to pace 15, 16 players, whatever it is, through a run of games which are A, difficult, and B, with little resting time in between.
Yeah.
So that's the circumstances he's in, and I'm sure he's learning a lot right now.
Okay, Coach, moving on to fantasy.
Yeah, actually, my team's not doing well all of a sudden.
So I had a fantastic week. 72 points brings me to first.
Oh, wow.
Wood for Nottingham Forest. His first name's escaping me right now.
Yeah,
Chris Wood. Yeah. 13 points to start on Friday. 2 goals. I captained Haaland, who just scored 1, but I didn't see that game. But my understanding is he missed a load of opportunities.
He did, yeah.
So that could have been better. But Palmer, a goal and 3 bonus points. Salah, a goal and 3 bonus points. And my 2 changes were Vardiol from Manchester City, who got the clean sheet and the 3 bonus points, and Ati Nouri from Wolves, who scored a goal. So my transfers went really well this week, and I'm clawing my way back in the first place, which is nice. Coach, you had 45 points. You're in ninth place now. You captained Haaland as well, who got you 12. Palmer, Salah, same thing. And then Gabriel only had 1. Your defense mounted for 3 points, unfortunately. And Sells, your goalkeeper, had 5. He's a good goalkeeper. I'm thinking about bringing him in.
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of, I guess the big 4 would be Trent at the back. Then you've got Palmer and Salah in midfield and Haaland up front. All of my other players, like they all played, but they pretty much all got ones apart from the goalkeeper. And so I think that I looked at it and I put Gravenberg in there, and I don't think he's really a points producer.
Yeah.
So so I think he's got to go actually. And who else? There's the Villa couple.
Yeah, you got Rogers and Duran.
Yeah, and it seems like he's going to rotate Rodgers. So, I mean, this is one of the hard thing that's difficult. Does Guardiola pretty much play every game for Manchester City?
Pretty much, and he's got. I think I heard a stat that he's got like the most touches in the other opponent's 18-yard box than anybody else, which sounded like weird to me. But he's getting forward a lot, and he can add some goals in there. And I picked him up specifically for the Southampton game because Saliba got the red card, and I was just like, I'm getting rid of Saliba and bringing Guardiola in, and it worked out. But
yeah, I mean, past years I've always had three Manchester City players in,
yeah,
but what's difficult with them is that Guardiola rotates a lot. So typically the players that always play have been Ederson, De Bruyne, and Haaland, and maybe Diaz at the back. But he started to rotate at the back now, so there's nobody. But I wondered whether Guardiola is really, because they always get lots of clean sheets, but he seems to score goals as well.
yeah.
So maybe he's a good pick.
I was on a fantasy show a couple weeks ago, and the host made an interesting argument about going away from Alexander Arnold. He was talking about his underlying stats aren't very impressive, like in the past. He's not getting forward as much. He is on corner kicks and free kicks, so there is other avenues to points there, but it's not as he was under Klopp. So made a very interesting argument, and at $7 million, he's the most expensive defender.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking maybe bringing Konate in instead, and just if they get a clean sheet, he's still there. He gets the clean sheet as well. So, and also, I'm gonna have to take a look at the City highlights, but I'm very close to moving on from Haaland because Mbeumo's having a good year. Wisa's back for Brentford. Like there's things you can do to kind of bolster your team. And I joked around on that show. It's like I don't wish anybody to get hurt, but I almost want Haaland to be out for a while, so that way, like from a fantasy perspective, you can actually freshen up your team and get more like just a more stable team, a team that has more higher performers. Because when you got Haaland, you're stuck. I mean, it's a big part of your budget.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but he's going to play every game while he's fit, because I don't know what the percentage of goals that Manchester City scores are down to him.
It's got to be very high.
Yeah, it has to be high.
Yeah,
has to be high. I mean, I always felt that Haaland was a Pep Guardiola compromise, in as much as whilst I feel he's a team player, I don't think that he's kind of a Cristiano Ronaldo type of personality. I think he's a team player for sure. But in terms of outside of scoring goals, I'm not sure how much he brings to the collective thing that Pep Guardiola likes to instill in his teams. So, in a way, I feel that Manchester City is a 10-man team, and Haaland's job is just to be in the box. Like, they're going to create chances, just do what he can do, which is stick it in the net, and he does.
Yeah, if I move off from Haaland, I'm thinking maybe bringing Foden. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of up in the air.
Well, he rotates Foden a lot, though.
Well, but Foden also he didn't play the first week, or he only played a couple. Like, he hasn't played a lot, so I think like he's going to get a little run of games here. Because last year he was just unreal. He was fantastic last year.
Yeah. Look. Guardiola rotates a lot. Why do you think Palmer left? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
man.
why, because he wants to play and he's played and he's developed. It wouldn't have been like that if he stayed at Manchester City. I think.
Palmer's pass on their first goal was outrageous. I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw the highlights.
Oh yeah,
but
I did. Yeah, I did.
he's special. Anyway, enough about them. Liverpool is second in the league. I think 2 points behind City. Is that right? I think that's right.
Yeah, 2 behind.
Yeah, 2 behind City. No, sorry, 1 behind City.
Oh, is it 1? Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it was 2.
the 1 behind City. We got the best goal differential at plus 12. That's good. Next three games are home minus the Brighton game. So we're in good shape, Coach. We're at the top of the table in the Champions League, tied with Aston Villa, and we're doing well. Coach, thank you as always for your insights. Guys, if you want to join our fantasy league, the code is CHPX42. We did add another member to the league. We'd love to have more on. And until next time, everybody, go Liverpool, and we will catch you later. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.